Welcome to Hunter's Point, Episode 7.
Are you prepared for this evening's affair? Well, what's this? She asked, her gaze falling upon the foreign garment.
A gown from Lady Thibodeau's Parisian collection, I answered, turning it thoughtfully in my hands. Though I presumed we were still exchanging before our departure, yes?
Indeed, but circumstances have grown delicate. Mama is ever watchful these days. We must tread with utmost care. The switch will still occur, though now only moments before we exit. Once my hair is set, I'll come to you with no more than 5 minutes to spare.
5 minutes? That scarcely feels sufficient for a scheme of such consequence, I said, frowning.
It shall suffice, I said, ignoring my concern.
She vanished down the corridor like a whisper in velvet, leaving me to ponder the weight of borrowed silk and the secret stitched into every seam. That didn't sound very convincing. I wish I could get my hair done, I said, reaching for the bacon grease I used to soften my hair. Meredith's late-night rendezvous crossed my mind, wondering when a good time would be to tell James. Little did I know a deal had already been struck.
Well then, my darling, today has arrived at last. Tell me, how did matters unfold with Thaddeus?
My darling, a term you wear like perfume, only when you intend to deceive, I thought bitterly. Aloud, I said, I dare say you will be quite satisfied. The deal shall furnish your endless appetite for baubles and imported absurdities, he said, lifting a newly acquired object. A new prize?
Anna Magnum's latest acquisition, a pastry fork from Vietnamese set. A revelation in silverwork, I replied smugly, insulted by his questioning.
You don't bake, Sonora.
Don't be provincial. Presentation is half the meal, I said, waving him off. Now, on to more gratifying news. I took the liberty of arranging a most exquisite photograph of James and Meredith for the social page, front and center.
Yes, and that, my dear, is precisely the trouble.
Trouble? I hardly follow.
You moved without a word. Thaddeus and I came to an understanding. One solid, advantageous, and agreed upon. It was to be Sebastian II and Meredith. Your scheming has undone that, and you dare parade it in print? Tell me, Sonora, has our wealth become licensed for your continual insubordination? He lamented, tossing the newspaper onto the divan.
Insubordination? I am your wife, not your child. Now, what's unattainable is your suggestion of pairing our oldest with that girl. Meredith was always intended for James. If not, he'd be free to frolic with the bedraggled laundress who drips pine soap and desperation. I saved him and us from disgrace.
I've just secured an endless stream of fortune. I believe that entitles me to one unsanctioned argument, I replied, growing tired of her interference.
And what of the remainder of your bold promises? I said, narrowing my eyes and changing the subject.
1% stake in Bentworth Galleries, and our collection featured in every Negro-owned establishment from here to Texas. He spreads his arms as if unveiling a kingdom, a cultural empire, ours.
An empire, perhaps, but not one ruled by Meredith. That girl's already earned whispers, late-night dalliances, jewelry unaccounted for, that kind of stories that linger like smoke.
She's merely indulging in foolishness of youth. Their family's offer is more than sufficient. A mansion in the hills, a stipend that shames most legacies. Gold tends to silence gossip.
Then tell me, dear husband, will that same gold muffle the rumors about you as well? The room falls into a taut silence. The air is heavy with old wounds, and neither blinks.
Though the Bentworths were wealthy, they could not escape the sting of the column and not wonder if their name was being whispered behind gilded doors. Meanwhile, the Smithfields marveled at their new deal.
Has it all been settled? I began, anxious to hear about our new allegiance.
Indeed, with precision, I said proudly.
Bravo, my lion. What are the terms?
1% ownership of the Bentworth galleries. Last year, they made $1 million, a hefty sum for our coffers.
Indeed. Which one of our daughters is the soon-to-be-wed?
Meredith, perhaps this union will help our wayward daughter get back on track.
Yes, Mr. Hollis tells me she snuck off dancing again. Which one of the Bentworth sons will it be?
Sebastian, the counsel at law and the heir to their empire.
Splendid. Meredith is a fine choice, and at 21, just in time before the years sour on men's eyes. I said, looking in the large mirror that hangs in the parlor.
My love, your beauty grows more stunning every day. Now, I must run. There is society business I must tend to. Please tell Meredith our decision.
Was that father? Did he say if he spoke with Mr. Bentworth? Meredith asked, entering as soon as she heard the door close.
Yes, and you will be rich beyond measure and socially placed in the highest elite circles for generations to come. Oh, and Helen will intern at the gallery of her choice.
Mother, who should Meredith marry?
Sir Sebastian Bentworth II, counselor at law, Madam Constance replied, holding up her hands like a blinking sign.
That can't be right. His mother wants me to marry James. She even orchestrated this picture, I said, holding it up.
That was before a deal was struck. She has been informed and won't make that mistake again. If she does, the deal will have to be renegotiated. And James is not the firstborn heir to the empire.
I've seen him with Avery. They seem to be in a relationship anyway, Meredith.
See there, it is settled. You will marry Sebastian II, and your first official outing will be this evening at the gallery opening.
Though Mr. Bentworth stood as a colossus of his era, commanding galleries and laurels alike, he was not above judgment. He answered first to the shadow cabal, known only as the Syllabus Society. Before the grand opening of his gallery, he was compelled to stand before them, to atone for his indiscretions, and to repair the tarnish spreading across his reputation. Their demands were merciless. The stain upon his name must be cleansed, and most urgently. The source of those whispered scandals located and silenced. The atmosphere grew stifling as the gathering cloud of alliance and obligation closed in. He would have to reckon with this hidden tribunal, or see all that he had built collapse into ruin.
Sebastian Leonidas Bentworth, you have been summoned to this grand council meeting because you have been found in violation of Section 1, Paragraph 3 of the Brothers' Oath, began Mr. Smithfield, who was the Syllabus Society's leader.
As a high-ranking member, you are held at a high level of accountability and therefore are punished at the same level of embarrassment to this high order, Mr. Pete said.
Our first order decree is that you must cease the relationship with whoever this woman is mentioned in this dastardly column, he said, holding up the paper.
Decree 2, you must relinquish $10,000 to this body post haste so that we can work on covering this up and erasing this stain from Hunter's Point, Gentile.
Our final decree is that you will have to remove your Syllabus Society signet ring for 30 days. You are barred from our presence after tonight's gallery opening. Please place your ring in the glass carafe, locked away until you have fulfilled the order of the decree.
Thank you, High Judge. I said laying the ring in a glass container in the middle of the room. It's where the exile had to leave proof of their brotherhood, but we all signed on. I knew the consequences of my indiscretion, but I never imagined a dime rag would so disrupt my life.
The hour was quickly approaching, and I was waiting in my room for Helen to bring me the dress. A frantic knock came at the door, but instead of Helen, it was Miss Lawrence telling me I had 3 minutes before it was time to depart. My heart dropped, just as I suspected. Helen had betrayed me. As I threw on my replacement, I stuffed my feet into the gifted shoes from Lady Thibodeau, or should I call her Aunt Libby? As I descended the staircase, there stood Helen, beautifully adorned in my dress.
Why, Avery, you look lovely. I just directed your photographer Timothy into the library. she said before Helen could make an excuse.
Thank you, Miss Lawrence.
It's gonna be all right, she whispered, pushing me along.
Ooh-wee. James would be a fool to ignore you tonight. If I weren't already digging on Patience, I would have tried to make an honest woman out of you, Timothy complimented. As we embraced, Gad became my closest friend.
Oh, too bad. Though you are loaded, James may just be the one. What Timothy didn't know was how thankful I was that I didn't have to ride with Meredith or Helen.
When we arrived at Hunter's Point, the gates had only just opened, yet there was already a reverent hush. No common crowd had gathered. Only a smattering of livered attendants stood silently at their posts, their gloved hands ready to usher us not merely into a building, but into something otherworldly. The grand entrance gave way to carnivorous halls, each chamber transformed into a realm of shadows and spectacle. Life-size figures loomed in silence, tributes to Black royals across history. Rendered in gold, obsidian and sorrow, a lecture murmured somewhere in the distance, as if rising from the floorboards, but the real intrigue lay in the rooms themselves, each cloaked in dim light and draped in a sinister elegance that whispered of hidden truths.
This is unsettling, Timothy murmured, his voice nearly swallowed by the blood-red hue of the room we entered. An entire room, soaked in crimson, like we walked into a heartbeat. He lifted his camera, the shutter clicking nervously.
Why do wealthy insist on being so grotesquely eccentric? I asked, stepping forward, ignoring the sign warning us to keep 3 feet away. My fingers itched with defiance.
The walls were covered in murals that stretched unbroken from the ceiling down to the floor, an ocean of red interrupted only by bold accents in shadowy black. The figures within them were too detailed. Their eyes seemed to follow, their limbs poised in a breathless stillness that mocked life.
Look here, this one, he whispered, pointing to a woman's face half submerged in what looked like crimson smoke. Her eyes are glowing red like they're watching.
It's not just paint, I replied uneasily. It's like the room is breathing through the art.
Yeah, it's got that haunted quality, almost like it's...
Bill?
He startled us. Neither of us had noticed him enter. There he stood, Sebastian Bentworth himself, his silhouette tall and still, as if he, too, had emerged from the wall.
It's a technique I've refined over many years. It allows the image to transcend its form, to possess the space. This room, he stepped forward, gently brushing the canvas with an intimacy that felt profane, is called surrender.
It should be called troubling, I murmured under my breath. Timothy and I exchanged a glance, both uneasy, both unable to look away. I noticed he was not wearing the ring on his pinky finger.
Her hair, it almost moves, he said, snapping another photo of the young woman suspended in crimson mist, dress billowing as if underwater or under spell.
It is that movement, that trembling edge of stillness, that has made the Bentworth Gallery unlike any other, he said, his voice now low, nearly reverent. His fingers caressed the edge of the girl's painted cheek. Each piece is a conversation or confession.
It felt suddenly too quiet. The room had a pulse. I could hear my own breathing and wondered, was it the painting that had shifted, or was it merely us?
Well, thank you, Sir Bentworth, I said carefully, forcing composure into my voice. We should be going now. I grasped Timothy's sleeve, pulling him with me as we backed out of the chamber. Even as we left, I could feel her red eyes burning into my spine. Not a painting, not anymore. We slipped away quietly, leaving him alone in the red chamber, still enraptured, still touching the art like a prayer. I doubt he even noticed we'd gone. My thoughts wandered, against my better judgment, to Aunt Libby and James. I'd been avoiding his attempts to reach me, and I thought I wouldn't admit it out loud. A part of me was curious. Would they notice my silence? Would it sting? We approached the next exhibit, a chamber bathed in soft, melancholy blue, when a sudden commotion stirred near the gallery's grand entrance. A ripple of alarm passed through the air like a shiver down the spine. Without a word, Timothy and I turned, drawn to the noise like moths to an unwelcomed flame.
George Perry Hollis, by the authority vested in me by the people of Hunters Point, you are hereby placed under arrest for murder, the detective said with authority.
Gasps erupted like gunfire as the detective seized Mr. Hollis by the collar and cast him violently to the marble floor. A trusted servant, now sprawled like a criminal at the feet of polite society? This is the big break for the detective warned me about.
What is the meaning of this outrage? Unhand my footman this instant. How dare you lay a finger on him? Thaddeus fiercely protested.
You vile little man. You will ruin for this. Do you know who I am? Get him off the ground now, or I shall see your badge stripped and your name forgotten.
Good people of Hunters Point, sir, madam, you have entrusted me to keep the city safe from what is known as the Reaper. After careful investigation and evidence found in Mr. Hollis's quarters, including this, he held aloft a simple object, almost absurd in its innocence, an ice cream scooper from the Prestons, stained and unmistakable. What say you, sir? The detective demanded, pointing at Mr. Hollis.
I am innocent of his scurrilous claims, he cried, his voice cracking under the weight of betrayal. I have served this house with honor for over 2 decades. Ask anyone. I swear it on my life, he replied, voice hoarse and broken.
His pleas fell into the gallery's silence like stones into deep water. They dragged him away. No trial, no time for grace. He was shoved into the black carriage like refuse, his face pale and streaked with disbelief. We all stood motionless. Mr. Hollis? Loyal, quiet Mr. Hollis? The man who remembered birthdays, who lit candles in the chapel, who stood beside the family through every season? This did not feel like justice. It felt like blood in the water. The Bentworths rushed out behind the departing carriage, Thaddeus shouting something we couldn't hear, Constance clutching her chest. The horses snapped into a gallop, and in moments they were gone. But the stillness they left behind was far louder than any gallop. Nothing about this felt right. Not the timing, not the evidence, not the look in Mr. Hollis's eyes as the doors closed on him.
Oh, do come in, dears, Lady Sonora called out with a too bright smile, her voice sharp with feigned cheer. Let us not allow that unpleasantness to cast a shadow upon the evening. There is so much to celebrate.
With each hand, she seized an arm, Meredith on her right, James on her left, and ushered them towards the center of the room like prize showpieces. A round of applause broke out from the guests, their clapping perfunctory, excited, ignorant. I stood motionless as the sound echoed around me like a cruel joke. James's jaw was clenched, his smile forced and brittle. Meredith, by contrast, wore the expression of a queen newly crowned, head high, eyes gleaming with pride and silent conquest. The announcement was clear, without being spoken. The match had been made, and it was not with Sebastian, but with James. I felt the tears rising before I could stop them. My vision blurred, and for a moment, all I wanted desperately, achingly, was Mama, or Aunt Libby. Where was she? Half the women in the room were draped in her curated Parisian gowns, the others in dresses she'd sewn with her own hands. Her absence struck me like a stone, too wrong to be a coincidence. A gentle touch on my shoulder broke the spiral. Timothy, steady, warm, and behind him, dear Patience, her face pale with worry as she pressed a handkerchief into my palm.
I'm so sorry, Avery. It was our understanding that she would be marrying Sebastian.
Well, perhaps things have changed, I murmured, each word a struggle to force past the lump in my throat. I swallowed hard, but the tears were too near. The lies he told, the promises he made, seemed just empty words now, hollow and untrue.
Are you sure you're all right? His tone was low, protective. Lots happened already, and the evening's only begun. Patience, no offense, but I don't know that being tied to your family is what Avery needs right now.
I understand why you'd say that, Timothy. I do. But our family, my mother, she's only doing what she thinks is right. The wealthy, they think in terms of legacy, not love. But I promise you, I'll speak to her. I'll make her see, Patience said reassuringly.
But I couldn't hear another word. Promises, pretty ones, were little comfort when the ground beneath you was already shifting. I nodded faintly, then turned. I didn't want to be consoled. I wanted to fall apart. I made my way towards the powder room, hoping to find a quiet corner to weep. But then I heard them. Raised voices, urgent and breaking through the gilded hush of the gallery. The Bentworths. I stopped in the corridor, hidden just out of view, and leaned closer.
Sonora, how could you? Your ambition has shattered our arrangement. I told you what was at stake. I began, angry about her trickery and silently worried that Libby still had not yet arrived.
Be angry if you must, she replied coolly, brushing him aside as one swatting a gnat. But James is far better suited. It is done.
Mother, no. I will not take part in this farce. You will go out there and tell them the truth. Meredith is to marry Sebastian, not me.
You will do as you are told. You are my son, and you do not decide who you will marry. That honor falls to your father and me. I continued, shocked by his defiance.
It seems our earlier discussion meant nothing to you. You've undone everything. I do not know how this will affect our partnership, but I assure you, there will be consequences.
I drew back, heart thudding like a drum against my chest. I had known Lady Sonora to be cunning, but this was something colder, calculated. James red with fury, Sebastian humiliated, Meredith nowhere in sight. The truth wasn't just painful, it was performative, a show for the world, and I had been seated in the front row without ever agreeing to the ticket. All I wanted was to run, to cry, to scream, but I knew then I could do none of those things because what I had just witnessed was not merely a broken engagement. It was a betrayal wrapped in silk, served with champagne and applauded by the world. And I was the only one who seemed to feel its sting.
I am not a child, Mother. I will marry whom I choose.
You will marry whoever is beneficial to this family. You can't tell me one way this washer girl will do that. This discussion is over. Our guest waits. We will continue this discussion later.
I'm not going out there, Mother.
Mother, you're not being reasonable, Patience said, trying to convince her mother of her error.
Oh, yes, my dear son. You are going out there with a big smile plastered on your lips and Patience, she continued without her eyes leaving James. Don't think I haven't noticed. You've been spending time with that spoiled rich newspaper heir, Sebastian. Will you please talk to your children? I demanded.
Oh, I have a say now? Well, thank you, Queen Sonora. Look, kids, I know you're upset, but tonight is not about us. It's about our 50th gallery opening. There are a lot of people who have come to support us, and despite your mom's missteps this evening, the show must go on. James, be cordial, and we will finish this discussion when we get home.
The rest of the evening was filled with onlookers, gushing over the newly minted couple. James and my eyes met, so I held my wrists with the keepsake he had given me. He didn't know I had heard him defending our relationship and being his own man, but just not tonight. It seemed Meredith kept looking at me with confidence, but the truth was just under the surface, like the canvas that filled the room. Aunt Libby still had not arrived. Worry was starting to creep in, despite my anger, but the night still had more in store. When Timothy and I arrived back at the Smithville estate, Jedediah was standing at the gate looking serious. We were ushered swiftly into the great library, where Thaddeus stood beside Madame Constance arms crossed.
Forgive the hour, Thaddeus, but this couldn't wait. I didn't want to bring it up at the gallery. Too many eyes, too many ears.
You have our attention. Speak.
Yes, please. Tell us what you've learned. Jedediah exchanged a grave look with Timothy.
We traced the source of the parlor column, the one revealing the private affairs of Hunters Point.
And the articles are being written from within your estate. A stunned silence fell over the room as he handed her the Smithfield stationery with words scribbled on it.
What? From my home? This is outrageous. She turned sharply toward me, eyes narrow and gleaming. I knew it. I knew Avery was meddling in things that did not concern her, spilling our secrets into teacups and ink.
Excuse me? I retorted, frustrated by the insinuation.
No, hold on. It's not her. The author signs with the first initials, in.
Does anyone in the household staff have those initials? Madam Constance visibly paled.
This cannot be.
Madam Constance shrieked, as if she knew who it was. I searched my thoughts, and only one person came to mind. Someone who had been kind and caring to me. I was dismissed, but not swayed from finding out whose initials they were. As I rushed out, I overheard the maids talking about Aunt Libby.
Are they talking about Lady Thibodeau in there? She asked as soon as I closed the door.
Why would they be talking about Lady Thibodeau? I asked, relieved to finally be hearing something after her absence at the opening.
My cousin Henry says she was attacked at her dress shop tonight during the gallery opening.
What? Is she all right? By whom? The Reaper? I asked, knowing that Mr. Hollis could not be the one.
I heard Dr. Elias went to her home and bandaged her up.
I was shocked and determined to check on her. I signaled for Timothy to take me and informed Madam Constance of her misfortune. A hush fell upon the parlor like a curtain drawn at dusk. The air turned heavy, the flicker of gaslight casting shadows that seemed to whisper secrets of their own. My breath caught. Had Aunt Libby's defiance, her quiet aid to our cause, exacted this terrible price? As we rode along in the carriage, the wheels shrieked against cobblestone. The city loomed quiet and watching. In Hunters Point, secrets never stay hidden, and their price is only just now being exacted. Thank you for joining us for episode 7, the finale of Hunters Point. This has been a Royal Black and Elite production.